Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome to Rise to More. I'm Jasna Burza, and I'm so incredibly excited that you're here. In our new rebranded podcast, we have some really exciting special guests, and today is really no difference. Uh, this is someone that I have known about for quite some time, and we moved in the same circles. And it was really just a series of connections that brought us together. So I'm very excited. I have with me today Sarah Edwards.
Thanks.
And Sarah Edwards is a creative. She is an artist. She's an entrepreneur. And she's built multiple platforms that bring people together. There's this huge sense of community from your brands. I am
hmm
Sarah Edwards
Yep.
to I am Minneapolis
Yep.
to co-founding Fashion Week. She really has for over a decade brought people and communities together. So we're going to talk about all of those things today on the podcast. So Sarah, welcome to Rise to More.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honestly honored to be here. So thank you.
Oh, I'm so incredibly excited. I always get giddy with excitement when it's someone that I know, but I really don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm just thank you for taking the time, especially during this really busy time that you have right
Yeah.
now, things going on.
A lot.
So I want to start kind of at the beginning.
Okay.
You came to Minneapolis with like a really big dream and in
Yeah.
your 20s.
Yep.
And the bat has really taken you to this incredible visibility, to
Yeah.
the place of where you are just really seen as the leading connector and an influencer. Tell me about that trajectory of, coming into Minneapolis. What did you set out to do? Did you even know that this was going to be the path?
No, I mean, it's so funny because I think some of these things kind of happened a little bit of me following my intuition, but not I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I just would kind of learn and listen as I was growing and building my career and see things and connect dots. And I think lately, it took me however many years, but I'm finally just owning things confidently. I'm a futurist. I see things before other people do, and I connect dots that people don't see. And because of that, I've been able to kind of be, a few steps ahead. The problem with that, though, is when you're trying to have other people understand what you're trying to do and it's not quite there yet, or people aren't caught up. Even the moment I'm in right now, I think the hardest thing is trying to have people see things through a different lens.
And that can put you in a situation of being misunderstood because the greats, when they lead, and it's interesting, I often say to myself, to others, I'm a futurist, and they don't know what that means.
Yeah,
But
there's
it's
no path.
there's no path. So
If
you
it
have to,
hasn't been done before and you're figuring it out, it's hard.
and you have been figuring out ever since.
Yeah.
I love that. So it's interesting. I remember reading a story where, you had this idea of creating the I Am Minneapolis
Yeah.
event, and with $250 in your
Yeah.
pocket, you're like, oh my gosh. Well, I
I
think
know.
if I'm not saying correctly, please correct me, but you didn't know if people were going to show up, and it was a completely sold out event.
Exactly.
Take me back to that moment. What did that moment mean for you? And did you know that there's something is happening here, and I really need to stay in this space?
Yeah, I didn't realize at the time, like the purpose of doing the I Am Minneapolis event was truly I loved our city and I fell in love with it. And I always thought that Minneapolis was a flyover city before living here. I thought you had to go to LA or New York or what all the cool people were. And when I moved to Minneapolis, I'm like, oh, we actually have a decent music scene and art scene, and I wanted to celebrate that. And I've always loved fashion, but to me, fashion should always represent everybody. And so this was, over 10 years ago that I did I Am Minneapolis before DEI was a popular term, but the fashion show included lots of different people from all walks of life. And it was really cool and empowering to see them all celebrated in our community. And the moment I think I had the aha light bulb moment wasn't even the event or the event sold out. It was all of the connections that were people were making behind the scenes that I didn't think would usually be in a room together. And that gave me a lot of joy.
When did you realize that you were really becoming a connector?
I think it was really after that first I Am Minneapolis event. I had 2 full-time jobs, not full-time. I was working as a receptionist and as a waitress, and so wasn't a great time to become an entrepreneur. But I think I realized that people were craving connection, but also seeing people on a runway or on a stage that aren't usually on a stage. And that was really special too. Like from day one, I had people in my fashion show that were quite a bit older than a usual model. You know, I had this awesome guy, Bob, that was in the Special Olympics as a model. And to see him owning his, who he is authentically and the joy that he brought out, I could feel it in the energy. Like, we want more of this. We're sick of seeing the people that look the same and talk the same and think the same. So we want more inclusive voices celebrated. And that felt really good. And I wanted more of that too. I've always thought fashion can be really exclusive, and I wanted to make it really for everybody.
I love the way you say that because very often I never saw myself as fashionable, so I always felt like I was not part of the club.
Right.
So
Yeah. It has kind of this unfortunate, oh, you can't sit with us vibe. And we need to get away from that. I think we're kind of going in the right direction. So, yeah.
I love that. What did success back then mean to you? Do you think that you were driven by impact, or was it fame? Was it visibility? The drives are very different for everyone that I ask.
Yeah, for me, success has kind of been in the past defined of like, can I pull this off? Can I do this event? Can I build this website? Can I figure this out? I like solving problems. And so for me, it's kind of that, can I do it? And then once I do it, how can I improve it? So that's been really the thing that brings me a lot of joy.
For very, very many years, when I would read about your name, and I still think it's kind of ludicrous that we haven't not
I know.
met
and
talked for all these years.
It's wild.
I was in baby rearing stage, so I wasn't going out much. But every time the word applied to you was influencer.
Yeah.
When you were doing so many other things,
Right.
An artist, an entrepreneur. Did you like that badge of honor at the time? I felt like maybe it was even cool to be like it was influencer was a good thing. I'm just really curious you being applied that title, your thoughts around it.
Yeah, I mean, I've struggled with that label just because I think it leaves a negative connotation in people's heads. I think they think of like a Kardashian or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with, being an influencer, but I do think it comes with a certain amount of vapidness and like, let me sell you this product. For me, I tried to use my influence for community and connecting and events and impact. And a lot of it had to do with being an early social media adapter, because when you haven't, when you don't have a lot of resources, you have to get really creative. And social media was a way for me to get the word out about my events in a way that I could afford. And then pretty soon my name got associated with the event. So it's like, oh, we're going to a Sarah Edwards event. And then who's Sarah Edwards? And that's kind of how all of that started.
I am Sarah Edwards.
Yeah. And again, had I known, like, I was laughing about this the other day because it's the perfect mix of everything that I shouldn't do based on who I am and my mental health and my personal, like, I am an introvert.
Hello.
I enjoy deep conversations with a few people. Can't do that at events. I am sensitive. I have insecurities, all of these things. People that should be famous and in the public eye, like, that do okay with it aren't, or if they don't struggle, like, they usually aren't, they have thicker skin and I don't. So that's what's hard sometimes with this, but I'm also really good at what I do. And I was just talking to someone about this. I'm like, I feel like my life's purpose is to connect people from different walks of life and to amplify artists and creatives and build community. And it also takes such a toll on me personally. So it's this interesting conundrum. So in my next chapter, I am designing a way to do what I love to do without having to be the face and the center of it.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that
Yeah,
because that's been transition that I've been trying to make ever since 2020
it's hard.
happened. Um, in today's world, it can be challenging to find ways where we can share the what we want to share. You're right, and not
Yeah,
use the tools that are available to us.
yeah.
You said something really important that I would love to know a little bit more about the impact that it had for you. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember reading somewhere, and I'm going to read this because I had a gut punch feeling when I read this. Like it hurt. You said that at one point at the height of your success, you felt so utterly alone. And quote, you said, I felt so lonely in rooms full of people who know me from the internet. And that's such a poignant image. And I think a lot of people feel that very often. And I think we
Mm-hmm.
live in a world where there's so many of us who feel unbelievably alone while
Yeah.
we're surrounded with thousands of friends. Can you describe what was happening for you in that moment, or even when you were starting to notice this creep in?
Yeah, I think it was weird because I was like starting to feel like I was all of these people have all of these expectations of me. And what's interesting when you have lots of different people from all walks of life as your audience, if you will, you're never going to please them all,
Oh, no.
ever. And what another thing that was interesting that I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately is that I'm not so famous like Billie Eilish where I'm unreachable or untouchable or whatever, but I'm still got a little bit of that like on a more micro level. And the problem is no one expects Billie Eilish to respond to their DMs. No one expects Billie Eilish to get coffee with them, this or that. For me, a lot of people do. And where I get myself in trouble and where I have gotten in the trouble in the past, another thing I'm trying to work on in the future is boundaries. Like we talk about boundaries as a society, but it's really hard to enforce them because I'll give you a scenario. Someone reaches out, "Hey Sarah, I'm working on this project. It's a nonprofit that I'm trying to get going. I heard you're the person to talk to. Could really use some advice, this, that, and the other thing." I've gotten thousands of other requests already. I say no. I'm a bad guy. I say I'd love to, but like I feel like there's no winning. And then what happens is sometimes the people pleaser in me will say yes, and then I can't execute. So it's like this constant, and it's just moment after moment after moment of disappointing people. And it makes me not want to do anything. And it's really confusing. And so again, I'm trying to work on like that's a problem I'm trying to solve for myself
Mhm.
is how can I show up authentically, have boundaries, be kind, and also take care of myself because I'm no good if I'm constantly pouring from an empty cup and I've been doing that for so long.
For a long time,
So long.
and it took a toll.
Oh, for sure.
So when it did take a toll,
Yeah.
when it affected, what was that like?
I think it was weirdly like I had a lot of resentment. I was really like I'll just never forget. It's like I can barely like I'm not sleeping well, I'm not eating well, I'm not drinking like all the stuff to take care of yourself, and it still felt like I wasn't doing enough. And I'm like and it felt like this train that I made like that I was on my own going a million miles per hour and I didn't know how to stop it and I wanted to like barrel roll off of it. But then what's interesting, I mean it's you got to laugh at it because it's quite hysterical if you think about the complexity of how I got here, but you think about identity and then you think about identity integrated to a social media avatar and then you think of trying to build community but you're at the center of it but you don't want to be but you care about these people. It was too much, and at those moments I wanted to go live out in the woods in the middle of nowhere where nobody knew me.
Oh, that's a very common, I think, sentiment that I get. Just like I just want to escape because I
Yeah,
think we want to do good. Our intention is almost always wonderful, and we
totally.
start with a great intention, but then it overtakes. What was the collateral damage for you? Because I have my own moments where I didn't know how to say no, and the cost was all too great on my mental health, on my
Yeah.
physical health, on just myriad of things that I really had to change everything because otherwise I wasn't going to survive.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think it took a toll. What's interesting is like the people closest to me would always show me the most grace and empathy and forgiveness. And those people got the worst version of me because I was
Mm.
so pouring into all of these strangers or people that I barely knew. And it was like, that's a moment for me. And that's what I'm working on now. I'm like trying to be more intentional about the people that I actually give a damn about. And as a human, you can only have a few relationships.
It's true.
You can't have
But
friendships with 700 people.
but
It's
there's a
impossible.
fallacy. Why do we have this fallacy that we're going to have hundreds of friends and have, and love them all equally and answer all of their phone calls at any given time?
It's so weird, and I'm working on it. I recently joined this group called Ascent. Shout out to Ascent. And it's all about elevating human potential. And it's really about kind of figuring out who you are, what you truly care about, what your gifts are, and designing a life where you feel healthy and fulfilled. And I think for me, Ascent represents intentional space for me just to exist as a human, not as Sarah the brand, not as Sarah the artist, the influencer, the whatever. I'm just me. And I didn't realize how much I needed that space and to be around people that I trust, that I feel safe with. Like, it's been a game changer.
At that point, did you have some people who were really truly there, who got it and that you could count on?
I think what's interesting when you go in the waves of life, like I have like your ups and your downs, it's interesting who shows up when you're down. Those are the real people, the ones that really care about you. And I think that I am grateful for almost going through that. Look, like I've been through a lot, and if I reflect back on it, all of the moments when I'm at my worst and I'm really struggling are moments that I'm also having the most growth and learning something big, even though it's really hard. And there's times I'm like, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, but I also get how beautiful it is that I get an opportunity to learn from it and grow. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, Dark Night of the Soul can be quite a cathartic and transformative experience.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I think too, it's like, I think my main difference than most people is I fail and try in public.
Oh,
And I try a lot. Like I am fearless in that way. I do things that people have never done, nor would they have the strength to do. And I'm proud of that. And I'm going to stand in my light and own that. And all the people that want to naysay and stuff haven't done hardly any as much stuff as I have. And so again, I'll just say the big difference is I'm doing it in public. Guess what? I, started businesses in public. I've gotten married in public. I've done all of these things in public for the world to judge and watch and talk about. It's like reality TV in a sense, like we don't the reason everybody's talking about me is it's engaging content, and if I was just kind of sitting in my house doing the same thing over and over and over, it's not that interesting. But I think people are like, well, what's she gonna do now? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll wait and see. So I don't know. You caught me on a day where I'm feeling like a little confident and it feels really good.
I love that we're going to celebrate that all
Yeah.
the way, all the way.
I've had a really good day. So
I love that. Where does that come from? That propensity for risk, for going after it, propensity for building something out of nothing. Where do you think that comes from for you?
I am so utterly driven by curiosity, and I have pretty intense ADHD. I'm learning more and more about my own mental health, and it's so interesting. Literally today, I was on the phone with a gentleman who owns a very big, financially successful business. And it sounds wild to say this, but he's the male version of me. And I'm so glad that I found him Because our brains, it's hard to explain to people. I don't know how to explain how I'm thinking about something, and it feels sometimes when I'm speaking that people look at me like you've lost your damn mind. But in my mind, I'm like, how does not everyone not see this? And that's why I feel such an urgency when I'm creating, especially in the day and age we're living in with technology. I've been creating like a mad person the past 5 months because I feel behind, and I don't and I'm not trying to be a doomsayer, and I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but everything is changing right now, and I see it so clearly. And I know a lot of people are afraid of their job security, and there's a lot going on in the world, and it's absolute chaos, and I understand all of that, but we got to get to work. And the innovators and the creatives are inspired right now because there's never been more problems that need to be solved.
What do you see?
That's a great question. Let's say this. AI is the worst it's ever going to be right now, this second. Every second of the day, it's getting better, faster, stronger, more connected. The amount of things that are being invented at the speed in which they're being invented is unimaginable. And for me, where I can't sleep at night is who's connecting all of these things that are being invented. I mean, I'd be curious as we're sitting here right now and this, time we have together, how many new products are being launched, how many new businesses are being formed. I think the future is not going to be, hi, my name's Sarah and I have this job. It's going to be, hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the CEO of these 6 businesses and I'm this and I'm that, because you can find teams via technology now like you couldn't before. That's the reason I was able to build my new venture Little Big in 4 months. People think it's with no funding. It's insane, but I've been teaching myself so many new skills that I never would usually have at a rate that I can't fathom. And I feel like I sound insane right now, but I haven't been sleeping because there's so many opportunities, and I'm really trying to find my partner, the yin to my yang, that can help operationalize all of this so I can be like a wild creative and create and launch business after business after business. I have too many things that I want to do that there's not enough time. So
would you tell us what Little Big is?
Yes. It kind of goes back to the fact that I said, I love connecting, I love building community, but I don't want to be at the center of it anymore. I don't want to be a gatekeeper. The amount of people that message me literally just this weekend, I think I had 9 just text messages. Hey, Sarah, I'm launching this business and I'm looking for someone that does this. Hey, Sarah, do you know where I can find this person? Hey, Sarah, do you know? I'm like, and it takes a lot of time and energy and exhausts me doing all of this connecting, but I love it too because it fulfills me. So I'm like, how can I be this connector? How can I help people find the connections that they need in real time where I don't have to be at the center of it? And I've always thought that there's a white space in the social network platform, and social networks people are really burnt out on. So we have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, there's Facebook, there's things like Fiverr where you can find freelance creative talent. It's a little more transactional. There's things like Handshake, which is for college students. Like, I've been doing all of the competitive analysis of all of these different social networks and apps. And I was like, why isn't there something where you can just like connect in the local community? And
okay,
I like how your eyes lit up.
It's you solves a huge problem.
Yes, it's so Little Big is like little connections, big impact. And the idea is you can go on and create a profile, talk about who you are, what you do, and then you can apply for jobs. But different than LinkedIn, you don't have to be connected to the person or the business to see the job. Because if, let's say we're not connected on LinkedIn and I'm hiring for this thing and it's perfect for you, but you don't see it because we don't know each other, we're not connected. So how Little Big works, it's in beta, saying it's in beta just so everyone knows it's in beta. But how Little Big works is you can create a profile either as an individual or as a business and a brand. And individuals can go on, create a portfolio. It's kind of marketing your skills, how like the types of jobs you want to get. And then the business brand side, you can go both post jobs and opportunities as well as events. So then you know how you can get like notifications. So like, let's say Little Big, there's a business on there. Let's say a local restaurant goes on and they're trying to find a photographer. There'll be a notification sent out like new opportunity available photographers, and all the photographers will get like a little ding, and then they can apply for the opportunity.
Oh, that's genius.
Thanks.
I love that. I look forward to its development.
Thank you. And then I have a studio downtown Minneapolis at the Kickernick building that's 6,000 square feet, where it's kind of like Little Big in real life. So people can have memberships. Think of it like we work for creatives. So there's a podcast studio if people want to make a podcast. There is a photo video studio. There's a place for workshops, for hosting events, and all of that stuff, all downtown. And yeah.
Well, next time when we do an update, that's where we're going to come
Okay.
and film
Love that.
a sequel
Amazing.
podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I was under impression, so here's where it's like, don't trust everything you read on social, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't really know each other
Yeah.
that well. That you were slowing down. You've lost stake in multiple businesses. You're really making a very intentional transition to away from the influencer world, and my assumption was that you were going to into the quiet space of being an artist, and like you mentioned, there's a lot of reflection and introspection happening, but you're also on fire doing all the things because these are unprecedented times.
I mean, this is what's so, if I'm speaking vulnerably, this is what's been so hard is it's so hard for me to slow my brain down. I joke to my mom all the time that I would pay $1 zillion to just like take this out and like just put it somewhere for a while. It's really hard for me to turn it off. And again, you said earlier, like I'm misunderstood. I'm very misunderstood. Like I'm very much, you can call me an influencer, but I would say I'm an experimenter. I just love experimenting, and I'm just culturally curious. I'm curious about the future. I'm curious about, if not me, then who. Like like I said, there's a lot of problems that need solving, and you need to think differently. And I think, I know I think differently, and I approach things differently. And it's a blessing and a curse. Like there's times I'm like, I wish I could just be happy getting a Costco membership and like getting a job in marketing and calling it a day. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm serious. Like I wish I could do that, but I just don't know how. Like I couldn't, I would go, I don't know, I would lose my mind. So instead I lose my mind in other ways by trying to run a bunch of different things and try things. But again, the beauty in life is we have an opportunity to grow and learn and reflect. And I have been reflecting and really, really surrounding myself with people that I admire and respect, that I want to be like. And that's been a game changer. So I've been intentional in seeking out mentors.
So Sarah, who are you?
Oh, that question makes me cry. Yeah, I mean, I'm having a little bit of an identity crisis, but I will say, even though I'm kind of in this moment of transition and not really sure who I am, I learned something again through the Ascent group where there's a word for it and I can't remember it. I'm in that awkward stage where I'm not the butterfly, but I'm not like I'm in between. So I'm in my past, but I'm not quite in my future, and I don't know what that looks like, but I'm like working on getting out of my past. So I'm in this really weird space, but I would say I'm someone that cares deeply, that isn't afraid to try things and to fail, is unapologetically fearless, curious, and creative, and human. And I hope that by the more I share my story, the more people feel safe with that, whatever they're struggling with, whether it's their mistakes running a business, or their mistakes getting married, or things that they do differently. Like, life is learning and growing. That's one thing that I know, and changing and evolving. So I know for a fact that I know who I am, as far as I know where my heart is, and that's what's really important to me. I know what my morals are and my values are, and I sleep really good at night knowing all of those things. So I'm grateful for that.
I'm always very present in these answers. I'm always moved because we're always becoming.
Yeah.
And I think yet the greatest, for me at least, the moment of peace, coherence, is sleeping well, knowing who I am and
Yeah.
honoring that. And
Yep.
that can be one of the most, I think, loftiest goals that we can have for ourselves personally, because it is tough to be a human and to make mistakes and to go through life and at the end of the day say, I did well, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So when you are going through hard times,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that I remember reading even in Star Tribune
Mm-hmm.
at one point, things got really dark. When
Yeah.
there were panic attacks.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are listening to this who feel alone in those feelings. What
Yeah.
are some things that you will lean on to get through those hard times? And so that's part one.
Mm-hmm.
And two, what would you tell them
Yeah.
if they're going through that time?
Well, when I'm struggling, that's the first question. Like, what do I do? I mean, sometimes I make good choices, sometimes I make bad choices when I'm struggling. I'd say good choices are grounding myself, doing the 10,000 view out, zoom out, realizing like we're just here for a short amount of time, and it's hard to tell yourself this in the moment, but not to dwell on it. Like, it's just a little blip in your life. And I also just try to be around people I innately trust and love and feel safe with, and just tell them where I'm at. For me, something that's helped me a lot lately is when I'm feeling depressed or anxious or down, I create instead of consume. Creating makes me feel alive. Consuming makes me feel really bad. And I'm talking about consuming social media, consuming television, consuming podcasts. It's just noise, 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 noise. And it's so hard because I want to so desperately distract myself from my own thoughts. But I think when I learn to breathe, calm my mind, go outside, it's so simple and it's free. Those things help me. But there's times when I don't do well and I like lay in bed and I don't want to get up, and it's really hard. My therapist told me when I'm in like one of my dark spots, low spots, like, go shower, just go take a shower. Cold, hot, I don't care. Just like that act alone helps. So yeah, I mean, I don't have all the answers. I'm definitely on a journey to try to figure out healthier ways of dealing with my anxiety and depression and just overall, ADHD when I'm spinning. But I want people to know they're definitely not alone. There's that word I love, Sonder, and it's really about recognizing that you never know what someone's going through. We all have our own worries, ambitions, ideas, friends. Like, I think we love to put people in boxes and judge them and be like, their life must be perfect because of XYZ. You never know what someone's going through. So I just assume we're all struggling. Like, that's just my assumption.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think kindness is so important, because you genuinely never know what someone's going through. And it's probably hard. And if they're at a moment in their life where they're crushing it and their life is good and it's full of joy, let them have it. Because we all know it goes like this. So if they're on the up, let them have it.
Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate today.
Let's celebrate today. We need people having joyful lives and joy in their life. Like, I don't understand wanting to take people down, because we're all going to experience loss. We're all going to experience hardship. We're all going to experience this. Yes, there's privilege in some people's lives and what what they go through versus others. I totally agree, but that still doesn't mean that we all don't experience like really hard things in life.
What's the most beautiful thing about you?
The most beautiful thing about me? Such a good question. I think that I will always continue to show up, even when it's hard. I'd say especially when it's hard.
What drives that for you?
Have you seen Lord of the Rings?
I have not. I have
This
to.
is such a nerdy reference, but like, I don't know. I feel like I'm on this quest, this journey, and I feel like I have this light thing that I'm meant to figure out, and it might take me till the end of the life to figure it out, but I'm going to keep going. Because when you're watching Lord of the Rings and they go through some hard stuff and you're like, oh my gosh, give up already. Can't you see this is not going to work for you? They just keep going. And there's this moment, oh gosh, I should watch Lord of the Rings again, actually. There's this moment at the end when they go through just the hardest quest to get there. And they're there in surrender and like humbleness. And there's this moment when they're like bowing, and then the other person's like, you, my friends, bow to no one, because they like made, and they got the light there. They figured they protected it. But it was really hard to get there.
Okay.
So that helps me to keep showing up, because I know what's inside me. And even though I'm the first one to tell everyone that I'm not perfect and that I have a lot of work and growth and all of those things to do, I also know myself very deeply about what's inside me. And I think once my journey, my quest is get into a place and a space where people know what to do with it, because I can't do it on my own. I need help. And I'm trying to find those people in that space where I can be authentically 1000% me. Because when I get there on this quest, it's going to be magic. But it might be a rough, I think I'm meant to go through some of this rough stuff. I don't think I could do it. I couldn't just do it magically. I think I had to learn really hard lessons.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you about some of those really hard lessons.
Sure.
In part, that's the reason why I reached out to you. A few weeks ago, Star Tribune ran an article, and it was headline was "Social Media Made This Minnesota Influencer, Then It Owned Her," detailing how you rebooted your life to help others find balance. And the article was beautifully written, well versed, and like such an honor to have that feature. But what I read before the article was the comments, and on social media, And I think I told you when I reached out, I felt like there were hundreds of comments that were very, 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 very negative, and I felt like it was a public lashing. And I just want to ask you this. How did it feel in that moment after having, such an honor to have an article in Star Trib. What did it feel like? Where were you when you found out that this was happening? And what was was it a gut punch like I felt? Or what was your reaction when you read it?
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's awful. Like, it was awful. Like, waves of shame and anxiety and grief and embarrassment and every negative emotion you could imagine all at once. And also anger and resentment. And I think what's hard with the internet is there's some truth in some of that. And then there's people that just are jealous and don't want me to succeed. And I used to be afraid of saying that, but it's the truth. There's people in those comments that I've helped and done nothing but try to uplift. There's people that I've put a distance to purposefully and had boundaries with that weren't happy about that. And then there's people that I've disappointed and I've hurt. And even if my intentions weren't to do that, it's the harm that's created. And I think that one thing that I take away from this big learning moment is I need to have a lot less relationships and connections and boundaries, because what I told you earlier is very true. I go, go, go. I have ideas. I create. I go. I want to act. I want to move fast. But when you're doing that and you're not methodical about how you do it, it doesn't matter if you do it. It's how you do it. And that was one of the biggest, as much as that was hard to read, blessings of that negativity, is one of the big things I took away is I can have all the ideas in the world and I can want to do this, that, and start a revolution. But if I don't know how to do it in a way that is clear, because Brene Brown's quote is clear as kind, then you can't do it. So in my next chapter, so excited, I will be having a really incredible operational partner. I don't like managing people, never have, never will. I get bored of it. I want to move fast. I have no patience. Learn that about myself. I need to stay in the creative visionary role in my next chapter. I can't be ops 1 second of the day. And that's been really, really hard for me to, and I'm not using that as an excuse. I think, running Fashion Week Minnesota through a global pandemic in the center of the social unrest, I would love to see someone do that. It was really hard. There was no roadmap. There was no map for that. And so, yeah, of course I made mistakes. I also felt this instinct to keep it going. Maybe the smart thing, if I, in retrospect, should have just said, I don't know how to do this, so I'm going to just step back. But I just kept going. And again, here's the irony. For every negative comment public, there were 20 direct messages private. And those people literally would say, I'm so sorry you're going through this. This is not okay. And you've done nothing but help me and support me my entire career. So I hope that you can take care of yourself through this. They didn't feel empowered to comment because they'd get eaten alive. So with those negative comments, there are things that I feel really terribly about. There's things that piss me off. There's things that I'm kind of indifferent. I looked at someone wrong in the elevator. Whatever. That's just the price of being in the public eye. And then there's people that I have absolutely zero respect for. You'll notice a lot of the people in the comments aren't usually people that I would, necessarily be, I don't know how to say this, but a lot of the people that were in my direct messages were business owners, successful entrepreneurs, restaurateurs, famous musicians, people that have done things and been scrutinized for doing it, people that haven't had a roadmap, people that are innovators that have messed up. And again, the major difference is my mess ups are public, so that's just the price. But it sounds so weird to say, but I'm weirdly grateful that happened. What a beautiful lesson to learn. I get to learn from it and grow. I don't have to be Sarah that ran a business 8 years ago. She's not here anymore. That's awesome. So if people want to hold me to a standard of who I'm not anymore, at some point, those people need to get over it. And this was their opportunity. The world sucks right now. It's hard. There's a lot of negativity and there's a lot of anger, and I get it. And if I could be the person that people got to let it all out for something that I did or didn't do years ago, I kind of got to shrug my shoulders because that's just not who I am.
That's an interesting, I love how you said that, if they want to hold on to the person that I was eight years ago. So, there was a huge progression, there was a huge change in growth, incredible growth. When you go through something big, something very difficult, something that very few people do.
Yeah.
You of course you're going to fumble and make mistakes, but you're going to build and learn, and that
Yep.
that changes you. But interestingly, there were some of the comments, and I plucked through. I read
Yeah.
all of them,
Great.
and then I needed a nap afterwards. It was just a lot. Sneaky, desperate for attention, toxic, self-serving, egotistical. Those were just personal attacks on the brand. Some who claim they have had really close connection to you. Some who are just from afar. I've heard that she's just a horrible human being.
Yeah.
Those are the worst kind of gossip. My mom always told me, "You have nothing nice to say. Just don't say
Yeah.
it." Um, but there are some that talked about the mistreatment, people who work directly for you,
Mhm.
and there were comments also about racial racial nature. Do you want to address any of those, or any of the things where you were like, well, I've made some of those mistakes? For
Yeah.
some of those people who feel harmed,
Mhm.
because you've been doing a lot of work,
Mhm.
and I think that's what the greats do.
Mhm.
They take the time to internalize these things and process them. They're very likely going to be listening to this.
Mhm.
What would you like to tell them, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to take accountability in a lot of ways of really not knowing how important it is when you are bringing someone into a space to work, having your collective SHIT together, you know? I I really think a lot of the mistakes I made came from a place of chaos
Mhm.
and not clarity. Um Trying to do too much with too little, trying to, create like I think about this. Like I should have never thought I was capable of running like an agency and Fashion Week at the same time. Fashion Week never made any money. Like people don't know that. I never got paid from Fashion Week either. There's this big mystery about Fashion Week. I'd be happy to share with anyone that I volunteered for like 9+ years. So
Oh,
that's where the resentment comes from. I'm like, I gave my time, energy, and everything to this for so long, and this is how it goes down. But I think the problem is there's a few people that just like really don't like me that are like saying straight up lies. And I thought about, you know, going to them and stuff, but I don't know if it's worth it. But then there's again, the thing that's true is when I first ran my agency years ago, I just didn't have a great way of running it where I could really sustain it and grow it. I think again, I tried to do too much and I didn't like managing people. I wasn't good with boundaries. And so I take a lot of accountability and responsibility for that. I was never purposefully harmful. I also think I've been always trying to find my way with my privilege as a white woman. I think about this a lot actually because I have a lot of privilege in a lot of ways. I'm white. I'm a woman, a straight woman. I'm thin. I have influence. One thing I am not is rich. That is one thing I would love if anyone takes away is that I come from nothing and I don't have anything. So there is this perception I think my life looks more glamorous. So that is one thing, but I'm like how do I authentically celebrate and amplify marginalized people that I care about and people of color and Black communities and do it in a way. And there's a lot of things that I've done that I have learned a lot from, and there's a lot of things that I'll continue to work on. I mean, I'd say going through my friend Sina ran this program called Ally to Accomplice, which is like all about education, specifically anti-racist, and I went through her program back in 2018 or 2019, and that definitely opened up my entire way of looking at everything through a lens of privilege. But I also know I did a lot of times I did the best with what I had. Money solves problems a lot. Like I think about sometimes if it was irresponsible trying to run Fashion Week Minnesota without resources, like should I not have tried? You know what I mean? And that's something that keeps me up at night. Like, should I have not tried to do it without having foundational financial support? But I don't know. But then there's so much good that came out of it too. And I'm not going to ignore all of that too. And I get a lot of messages from those folks as well. But to the people that I hurt and harmed, I'm of course sorry and take accountability, and I'm growing and I'm reflecting and I'm learning. And the big takeaway I have is to move with more intention, slower, and really create some boundaries. And I'm going to keep a much smaller circle in my next chapter.
Well, thank you for addressing that. I know that was hard, and I told you beforehand. I think that it entered my circle so fast. The negative news, that the sense of gossip
Mm-hmm.
spreads like vitriol in our
Yeah.
lives, especially today. Why do you think we're having such a hard time being more gracious, forgiving people versus this public lashing? Is probably the thing that I'm probably the most afraid, and which is why my boundaries are so high. My Because of that,
Yeah.
having people have access to you who don't really fully know you, and then completely mixing up stories or
Yeah.
making up things. What is it about today's situation with social media or the world where we are so instantaneously going towards hatred instead of the more forgiveness, or even pausing for a moment without before we verify
Yeah.
something?
I think because people, how do I say this? I think there's a lot of pain in the world. I think there's a lot of hurt. I think there's a lot of injustice. I think that there's a lot of systems that are broken that need change. And I think there's a lot of people that don't have a voice, that are wanting to shake the world up and say, listen. And I also, unfortunately, I hate that this is the world we're living in, but if you look at any content creator, influencer, people that have a big platform, it's like oh, there's a takedown happening. Let's go look at it. Oh, we're taking down this person this week. Ooh, we're taking down this. Like, it's a thing. I see it a lot more for whatever reason on TikTok with like these really big, like there's accounts dedicated to just hating on famous influencers and TikTok creators, because then their platform gets more views because they're associating their, like, again, that's just the world we live in.
I mean, it's legit poison. It's poison not just for the recipient. The way I look at it,
Yeah.
it's poison for the person who is emitting that level of vitriol and hatred.
Yeah.
It's okay not to like someone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people whose energy I enter and it just doesn't feel right. You know
Yep.
what I'm talking about? We just like,
For sure.
something's off, right?
Yeah.
But I don't have to say unkind things towards them.
Totally.
In fact, I will pray for them. I'm that type, right? I'll
Same.
bless
Yeah.
them. But where did we become okay to spew that amount of hatred? And are we not aware? I mean, this is what I think about, that that's actually a self-inflicted poison.
Yeah. I mean, here's one thing I'll say that, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I came across this. It was when I was like getting more attention, more popular, and I remember someone just not liking me. And I was like, how am I going to win them over? I have to win them over. I need them. I'm like, they just might not like me. And I have to let it go. So there's two things that have helped me. So I've had to work at this. Doesn't come easy. One thing that I heard on a podcast actually was, it only hurts if you believe it to be true.
Oh, say that again.
It only hurts if you believe it to be true.
Okay.
And so those comments, if I were to read one, I'm like, that's just not true. That's not true. Oof. That one hurt because that's true. And that helped me a lot. The other thing I recently heard through, I can't remember where I heard this. I'm on a self-help journey. Is like when you picture these, okay. Oh, there's actually two more things. I'm so excited to get to share this knowledge with anyone that it will help. But another thing is like picturing your thoughts as like these little bubbles floating around your head. And like if you're having a negative one, literally just cut it and let it float away. there's something about the visualization of like, I'll literally be like spinning about something. And then I'm like, how does this actually affect my day to day? It really doesn't. It just lives here. And so I'll just go, I literally do like a scissors. Let
I
it
don't
float
need
off.
this. Out of my space.
No, thank
Out
you.
of my ether.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
And then this is another one that, this has been helping me. I am here, present with you in human form right now, having an amazing, joyful, reflectful, beautiful experience. I get to choose when I go in there being the phone. Whenever I want. I can live in this moment, in this world, whenever I want. And I choose when I enter that one.
Most of us don't. That's really
because we're on it.
beautiful.
It's so addictive that we're constantly like, we think it's the same thing. And it's gotten to that point where it's like these worlds are like wrapping around and coexisting, but I get to choose anytime I want to be exactly present where I am with people I love, being outside, doing whatever. It's whenever I have enough strength and courage and feel good about myself, feel grounded, then I will choose to go in there. I'm not there yet, but even that realization has helped me so much, because when you're online a lot, you forget what's real and what's not. And I'm not saying that that's not real. It is. It's very much a part of our lives these days, but it's my choice. And that's empowering.
It's a choice. And there's something really remarkable. Like you and I could have had a phone call and it would have been a great conversation.
Yeah.
But there is something very sacred, I think, of being in each other's energy.
Yes.
Hartman Institute did these studies about heart coherence and how we emanate an energy field around
Yes.
us that can be felt. So
Yes.
6 to 9 feet around us. So you and I are in that energy field.
Exactly.
So when we come into that space with people that actually have good intentions, that emanate from a higher frequency, I think that blesses our own energy. It probably, I believe, adds to the fuels to the creativity, the collaboration, and it is a choice.
It is. Yeah. It's amazing.
Oh, I love that. What you are doing, I love this new Sarah. There's like, this is actually interestingly, I'm sitting here fully present, but I'm having a lot of aha moments and a lot of surprises.
Good.
Again, I don't know you very well.
Yeah.
So there was, I wouldn't say a preconceived notion, but some of the answers are very different than I would have expected. Not that I would, but do you know what I mean?
I'm surprising myself through this. Like, let me just tell you. And I think it's because I probably get emotional, but through this process, I've realized one thing that is true that I didn't know before. And it's that I love myself. Because if you love yourself, you can get through anything. And self-love, they talk about it all the time, and I never really understood it. And oh my gosh, my poor mom was so worried about me. I think I don't know what she thought was going to happen. And I was like doing okay. I'm not saying I was thriving when all that was going on, but I had I'm like, no, I know myself and I love myself. And two things can be true. I can make mistake and have things I'm ashamed of and that I've messed up in my life and that I wish I would have done differently or made different choices. And I also can grow, and it also doesn't take away from all the good I've done. So that's where I'm at.
How well said. I love that for you. I really do. Because
I feel kind of light. I don't know. It's weird.
What did you have to eat today?
I don't know. I've just been doing a lot of reading and reflecting, and I feel that I'm just so energized that I get this learning experience and I get to design a different way of doing things. Like, I just didn't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And even though it was taking a public lashing to get me to wake up and do some of this internal work, what a gift.
What a gift. My spiritual teacher said everything is purposeful.
Yeah.
You may not understand it.
Yep.
You may not logically be able to interpret it, but everything is purposeful somehow.
Yep.
And, you didn't attract it. You didn't ask for it, but it's
Yeah.
purposeful.
Yep.
How? Well, you had to find out because your soul is having a transformational experience.
Totally.
And I just love that. I can actually tell. I can see
Can
it
you?
in there's a levity to you.
Yeah, I
that's
don't
really-
know like how again, like, don't get me wrong, I struggle every day and I question so many things, but I know that I can do hard things, and I grew so much, and I'm going to continue to grow, and I'm going to continue to do work and reflect, and what a beautiful thing.
What a beautiful thing. What is next for you? I know that you're working on a documentary,
Yeah.
Connected Yet Alone.
Yeah.
I know that you're keeping that under wraps, so you
Yeah.
don't have to talk about
Yeah,
it very
yeah.
much. But where are you seeing yourself in this next chapter of this, transformation once you get out of the cocoon?
I know. I mean, the biggest thing, there's some quote where it's like, you are who you surround yourself with. I've been more intentional about the people I'm spending a lot of time with. Like I said, the Ascent group, and just different mentors and people that I just look at and I'm like, I want to be like that person. I want to lead like them. I want to learn from them. Like our friend Jamie Tate's, like, I love learning from her. So I'm trying to just be more intentional about that. And I want to level up. I don't want to be Sarah, the influencer, or Sarah, the social media, whatever. Like, I want to be Sarah, the founder, and I would like to be more behind the scenes whenever possible, focus on my close relationships and my friendships, and still have my joy and love of business, but not have it be all consuming all the time, because that's where I've burnt out in the past. And I've needed that, again, this is a vulnerable thing to say, but like, I've needed that validation. It'll probably take me a minute with the work I'm doing to not need that validation. Like, you're doing a good job, Sarah. Good job. Everyone thinks you're great. Like, I've needed that. Like, it's water and air. And that comes from a really dark, deep spot. And that comes from childhood. Like, that goes way back. So to try to unlearn that is like untangling this big thing. But I'm at an age where, again, I feel weirdly blessed and grateful that I get to do this internal work. And I'm not going to apologize for trying harder than the average person. Like, I've done so much in 10 years that most people haven't. And I've done it publicly. It's really hard and exhausting. So I'm done apologizing for messing up in public. I'm going to learn from those mistakes, and guess what? I'll probably make more. And I'm sorry. And I'm going to try my best not to, but I can't try to be perfect. It's too exhausting.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will tell you this, how beautifully said. I will tell you this. I know that you just recently celebrated your 40th.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There's something about the 40s.
Yeah.
That is, there's a certain je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
There's a certain, I have to choose my words here exactly, but there is a gradual awareness of who you are, your circle of influence, and complete irrelevance of the rest of the world, of the people who do not matter.
Yeah.
And it's so freeing. I keep telling my husband, I'm like, I just don't have time for this. I don't care. It's an interesting, I used to care a lot more simply because I'm an empath and I really connect with people. But at this point, it's not that I don't care about people, but it's just life is too darn short to think about small, insignificant things.
And we're like this tiny little blip in this tiny little city on this huge map and this huge universe. And it's like,
right?
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to lay in my deathbed. I'm like, I can't believe this person didn't like me.
But yet, that's what preoccupies our mind. So there's an incredible freedom coming your way.
Such a freedom.
I'm so incredibly excited.
Yeah. I mean, again, if the worst I did is whatever, be shitty at running a business and run too fast and whatever, it's like I can be okay with that. But I know who I am. I know what I'm trying to do, and I'm going to keep showing up and keep trying. So,
last question for you.
Okay.
As a 25-year-old Sarah Edwards who came with this big dream, and that night of I am Minneapolis, and you've had a decade of just incredible work that you've done. What would you tell her now that you know that she did not at the time?
I think, gosh, what would I tell that 25-year-old version of me? I think I wish I would have been able to tell her that you're never going to be able to please everyone, because I think that trying to please everyone was part of my problem. I think if I would have had mentorship from people that would help me say no and be okay saying no, I would have had more, I don't want to say the word success, but I would have made different choices. But people pleasing can be really toxic.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know that. It's actually, people pleasing can be harmful because you're kind of not telling the truth. So I'm working through that. So I also never want to hurt anyone's feelings. So it's a weird conundrum, but I think I would just tell her to be confident in, who she is, and lead with integrity, and own her brilliance. And the self-deprecating thing is over. I thought it was cute for a while, but that's probably what you've noticed different about me. I love being self-deprecating. It makes me feel comfortable. But now I'm like, no, I'm brilliant and I'm extremely creative and I have a lot to offer. And I'm going to just start saying it.
And I'm going to honor that.
I'm going to honor it.
A beautiful way to end the show.
Yeah.
For our audience, they want to know what rise to more means to you.
Rise to more?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I kind of relate it to what I had said earlier about continuing to show up. When you get knocked down or you get kind of, into a place, you have a choice to make, and I could go hide and run away, or I could rise to more. And that's what I'm choosing to do.
I love that. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
In your really busy schedule. I really, really enjoyed connecting with you.
Me too. I got to talk to you for hours.
I sent you an email. I said this is going to be a heart-to-heart conversation, and it was precisely that.
Yeah.
We're going to have for sure a follow-up coffee.
Okay, good.
With our boundaries.
Yes, let's do it. I love that. Teach me.
Not to overwhelm myself, but thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And I appreciate the genius. I appreciate the work that goes into the things that you're doing. And more than anything, I appreciate how vulnerable you have been and in admitting I've done things wrong, because that's a hard thing to say.
Yes, I absolutely have.
And talking about that, and I think that people need to hear that a little bit more. So huge thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, folks, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Rise to More is just about that. It's about having real conversations that actually matter. How do we go beyond the surface? World goes by so fast these days. Vitriol is at an all-time high, and social media can be so toxic and so hateful. So for this particular episode, I really want everyone listening to this to pause for a moment and think about the pain that you may have inflicted on someone else, even unknowingly, because behind every single account, there's a human being who feels, may have made mistakes, but I think we all have to have a little bit more forgiveness and love for all of us. For me, struggling to go through this life and for the mistakes that I make, and having love and forgiveness for one another, because God knows that it's not easy to be human in 2025. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, remember that you are the one that you have been waiting for.